So given this brutal economic climate that we're in, PSA decided to increase prices? I'm also going to talk about why I'm probably going to be submitting to them. I've got some things I'd like to submit, but want to get your feedback based on the new pricing, the new stuff that they are rolling out. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. How we doing?
I feel pretty good too. I think I finally got some sleep. I don't know why, I just feel pretty good.
It is another day. It is another card video. If you're new here, you're looking for just about daily sports card and collectible style content. You have made it. You have made it to the right place. Hit that subscribe button down below and we will keep it a-flowing. Also connect with me on IG at Sports Card Dad, and I'm also on the Twitter, the Sports Card Dad. All right, a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get into the topic at hand. I want to turn you on to a YouTube channel. I think it's also a podcast as well, but I just think these guys are really entertaining. A card channel, of course. I will give you a hint of what to expect. What's going on? Everybody? The Cardboard Coaches. You got to check these guys out. I'll put a picture, a link in the description and all that. But these guys are really good. They've got some good takes, hobby takes. They've been around. I believe they're in Canada, hockey card collectors mainly. But they're funny. They've got good camaraderie, and I like to listen to them. So definitely check out the Cardboard Coaches. Also on Thursday night, 7:30, I'm going to be on an IG live, which I never do IG lives. I don't think I've actually ever even done one. This will be my first one. My medium that I really like, obviously YouTube for sports card content, but I was invited by Drake with Drakes_PC to participate in a Drew Brees collectors live stream where we talk about 10 of our favorite Drew Brees cards. I'm excited for this because Drake himself is a monster collector. Mainly Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and wrestling cards are kind of his forte, but he's got some amazing Brees cards as well as Manning and wrestling stuff. But I'm excited to see what these other guys have as well and learn from them too. I know there's a lot of rare Brees stuff that I am not aware of, and so I'll be taking notes throughout this live stream because I can learn a lot. All right, guys, I was actually talking about how I thought that there was going to be a $10 to $12 price point. Really, I said a $10 price point for PSA on their bulk submission stuff in January, and I was right, absolutely wrong. I was completely wrong because instead of it going from $15 down to $10, it's going from $15 to $19 in January. Now, there's a couple of nuanced things that we need to talk through here, so I'll just kind of break down exactly what this is. So $19 a card for value bulk, but declared value moves from $199 to $499, so that is an improvement. But you do have to be a Collectors Club member to take advantage, and the turnaround time approximately 65 days. That's for value bulk. Now, if we go to regular value, it's $25 a card. Declared value moved up to $499, but you don't need that membership, that Collectors Club membership, which is $99 a year, I believe. 65-day turnaround again. So instead of kind of buying the Collectors Club part, you can basically do the same thing for $25 a card. We've got a value plus tier at $40 a card, declared value at $499, which is a mistake. I was listening to Neo Cards and Comics talking about this as well, and I actually agree with him. He threw out $999 or $1,000, and that's exactly where I think that the declared value should be for this tier, because otherwise it just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, other than it is a estimated 20-day business turnaround time as opposed to 65. So that's kind of the main thing. You're paying an extra $15 a card, but the turnaround time should be quite a bit faster, a lot faster. $75 a card is that next tier up. Declared value is $1,500 without any Collectors Club membership needed, and that's 10 business days, so that's the fast turnaround time. $25 a card for dual service, and this is the one that I'm paying attention to the most because, as you know, for me, I collect a lot of autographed cards. Now, they're not autographed in person. They're all the pack-pulled autograph cards, so stuff that's coming through packs that's coming from manufacturers. But I've got cards that are too thick for SGC holders. Now, Let me throw my bias out there, guys. I do this for every video where I'm talking about grading. SGC is my grading company of choice. They are also a sponsor of the channel. I loved them long before they were a sponsor of the channel, which led to me becoming a sponsorship with them. So that's how it all kind of happened. Mutual interest. I do have that bias. So of course, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt here. But a lot of what I'm saying is just kind of really common sense. So it is what it is. I do buy PSA slabs. I buy CSG slabs. I buy BGS slabs. So I don't think the SGC is the only grading company to use. It's really going to depend on your personal preference as well as kind of what you're trying to do with the card and all the nuance that comes into the different styles of cards, different types of cards. There's a lot of nuance with this in grading that's not really talked about enough. A lot of it's just kind of dumbed down to price points and resale value, and we'll talk about resale value here in a second. So for me, this is my struggle. I have got cards that are too thick for SGC that I would like to send into PSA. They are auto cards, so it falls into that dual service bulk. The declared value is $4.99, which I probably have 8 to 10 cards. So, and there's also a 20 card minimum here for this $25 price point. I can probably scrape together 20 cards for this submission for PSA, but my issue I think is going to be in part that the declared value, if I get a PSA 10, if I happen to get a 10 or maybe, I don't know, maybe even a 9 on some of these cards, the declared value could be higher than $4.99 to where I get an upcharge or I just get moved up to that $75 tier plus the auto grade, plus the a la carte stuff. So it could get a lot more expensive. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what to do here. I might just wait until hopefully there's not a 20 card minimum anymore, but who knows? Maybe they keep that for the entirety of 2023 and then I can't really get those graded. I don't think that's a bad price, that $25 a card. Declared value at $4.99, not bad. I wish it was $9.99. If it was $9.99, that would open the door up for a lot of things for me, but $4.99 is going to be kind of tough. So I don't know. I also don't want it to be where I get kicked up into that $75 a card and then I have to pay the charge for the auto. And so I'm paying $100 a card or something to get them graded. And I'm not necessarily looking to get it back and flip it. A lot of it is PC stuff or stuff that I'm holding. So I end up paying a ton for grading up front. So I don't really know what to do there. I might just hold off on this and hope that over the next few months, they take away the 20 card minimum. And then maybe I send in those 8 or 9 cards that I've got. Maybe I just send in the thicker cards that I was referencing for this. I don't know. We'll just have to see. Or maybe the declared value moves up. There's just that change on that dual service. Because for me, is possibly some of that dual service stuff. So I don't know. We will see how it goes. Fellow YouTuber Tyler Short did a good video on this as well, kind of a reaction to the price differences. And I like watching his stuff because he's been doing PSA reveals on YouTube. I think that's really his grading company of choice over the last 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years maybe. And so he's kind of broken down by the numbers where he's gained and lost. And so he's graded a lot with PSA over the last 3 or 4 years. So I do think that what he says is important, kind of a gauge as to what's going on. His video yesterday was a little bit more on the negative side as far as kind of what he's going to be able to actually grade with them with upcharges and that. But I think it's important to listen to somebody that has been doing it for a little while. If you're new getting into it, or you've been doing it and you're just looking for somebody else that's also kind of in it as well. All right, let's go back to the resale part. And
let's talk about something important. Are they all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
This kind of plays a little bit on what Tyler was saying, but then also just on what a lot of people have been saying to me. I've been getting some feedback on different things. And, there's always so much emphasis put on PSA versus the other grading companies, especially the other 3 big grading companies. It's the resale value. But the part that's not really talked about a whole lot, Tyler touches on this, is that PSA slabs themselves are not really moving. Don't have the same sort of volume that we had in 2019, 2020, and then parts of 2021. It's just not there. So, when you have cards, and I think a lot of us have moved more from, more of the base cards or the stuff that's more common to more rare stuff, niche stuff, it's more a collector's market. It's a buyer's market. You keep hearing about that. It's like now it's the time for the collectors. The problem is that if you're a dealer and you're trying to kind of buy raw grades, sell, resell, you have to really find your niche and build a customer base. You see this with Star Wars cards. You see this with music cards. There's different dealers that have really kind of moved into different pockets. They're trying to establish themselves in more of a niche way. as opposed to being a dealer of all things, because there is a lot of stuff that, again, as we say, it's just not moving the same way. So most people are caring more and more about the card as opposed to the slab that it's sitting in. An extreme example of this is the 52 tops mantle. You're seeing big time sales in CSG slabs, SGC slabs, PSA slabs. I'm sure if a BGS, if a really nice copy went up in a BGS slab, guess what? That one would sell well too. That's kind of the extreme of the example, because 52 tops mantle, arguably the most popular card in the hobby. But I think you understand kind of the point is, if you are a hobby collector, you've moved more towards kind of a niche set, niche type product, you probably care less about the slab that it's in, or even if it's a raw copy, because you just don't see that card very much. I use the example of 2013 Fleer Retro autos for Marvel for the big time characters. I found a Magneto that I had never seen before, and I've been buying this particular set for over a year. Never even seen that card in the wild before. So, and it's not a numbered card. I think that's another thing that's kind of interesting too. Depending on the set, there's always such a push on, numbered cards. And yes, there's, I think, some safety in some of the older numbered cards. I'm not talking about the newer numbered cards, because there's just so many different numbered cards. But when you're talking about, niche sets, you really got to dig into that checklist, research it. And there's a lot of really rare stuff that was never numbered. So even though it's not numbered, doesn't mean it's not rare. It's a good part of the research to remember when you're really digging into the stuff that you are looking for. So again, it's always resale is everything when you talk to anybody, but the volume of transactions for most trading cards has gone down dramatically. So we can look at charts and graphs and try to assess what a particular card's market is, or a particular player's market is, and it's really a fool's errand in my opinion.
I'm sick, dude. Well, I can't do it. It's my upkeep. God damn it.
Really is, because you're really just getting kind of a snapshot of what some sales are for a particular card. I guess it can work well if you are looking at base cards or silver prisms or something that a lot more common that transacts commonly. But when you dive into vintage, when you dive into rare inserts, that stuff just doesn't sell very much. You're going to have all sorts of variance on price points. So it's really, really tricky. It is. And again, I made a lot of videos on this. We are in a buyer's market, whether dealers want to accept that or not, sellers want to accept that.
Fuck! You're kidding! Judge. Fuck!
And it's not to say that, even if you're buying stuff that a collector would like, look, that's going to be a niche market. It's going to be niche. If it's a Barry Sanders card, if it's a Drew Brees card, there are some hardcore, diehard Drew Brees collectors like myself, but am I buying every single Drew Brees card that looks like a deal? No. I mean, I'm being pretty picky on what I want, and there's just a lot of really cool cards out there, so you got to really kind of figure out, really dial in on what's the stuff you like the most. So it's a tricky time, but, the whole resale value thing, I do understand the thought behind it, but the piece that's not getting talked about enough is there's just not a lot of transactions. So it's kind of like, grade with PSA because of the resale value. Well, none of that matters if no one's looking for that card. You can have there's a lot of PSA slabs that are just sitting there on eBay doing jack, collecting dust, along with the other companies. So again, it kind of boils down to, does the company even really matter at that point? It's really just about the card. Is the card rare? Is the card something that collectors want? And, flippers, they might like it, they might not, but that's kind of irrelevant, because that's going to become a smaller and smaller part of what we're operating in. Yes, there's always flip opportunities. Look, there's a zillion cards out there in the market. To say there's no flippers left or no flipping opportunities, it's not going to be correct, because there's always going to be little pockets of stuff that is flipping nicely for a period of time. It's just highly unpredictable. So the pendulum has swung to the long-term holders / collectors, however you want to classify that. And the sooner that we get there and we get away from, what's the short-term flip resale value of something? That's another big thing. Let's go back in time a little bit while we're talking about resale value. So grading really started in 1990, 1991 with PSA and SGC, the two main grading companies at the time. I can tell you, just from being in that market in the 90s, I don't remember seeing a graded card in the early 90s. Grading was mostly irrelevant for the first 10 years of its existence. I wonder how many graders both SGC and PSA had in 1992. Let's just throw that, 1995, because it was not popular, was not mainstream whatsoever to buy graded cards. Now, as we get into the early 2000s, Beckett moves into this space. And now it's like, okay, we've got Beckett in the space, big name. They moved in, I think it was 2003, 4, or 5 when Beckett started grading cards, starting to pick up steam again. But let's not kid ourselves. Yes, there were collectors that were buying graded cards. There's people involved in that market. These companies graded many, many multiples of what they were grading in previous years between 2018 and now. The last 5 years have been the ultimate boom for grading companies. And I think that that's a good thing, but we can't sit here and say, well, PSA has just kind of always been this leader. There's plenty of stories that I've heard of people that were cracking PSA 10s to send in to hopefully get a BGS 9.5, because at one point that was the standard. So if you're thinking of long-term, if you are a long-term thinker of this space, absolutely. Should PSA 10 premiums be taken seriously? And could they, get a premium over the other companies in 10, 15, 20 years? Maybe. But we don't have a history of this being the case over a long period of time. We have over the last 5 years where one company has ascended above the rest based on good branding, based on good marketing. Some influencers have been talking a lot about PSA over the last 5 years, and now we are here today. And again, it's not to say that they won't be the company in 10, 15, 20 years, and it's not to say they don't do a good job, and it's not to say they don't have good offerings. That's not what I'm saying. But the thought that none of these other grading companies will be taken seriously or have any sort of resale value in comparison over time, what sort of proof do we have of that? There's no consistency to that. There's no consistent proof going back over time. So we'll have to see how it plays out. My prediction is that as we move into the future, you've got the 4 big grading companies, and maybe there will be some consolidation at some point. Who knows? But I think that however that's consolidated, those companies that are popular now and that have good reputations, I think that the gap is going to close as far as preference, because people are just going to care a lot more about the actual card itself than the actual grading company or the slab that it is sitting in. Everyone's going to have a preference on the slab. You might like a PSA slab over a CSG, vice versa, whatever. But as far as value goes, I think that everyone is starting to understand that all 4 of these companies have excellent graders at the top. Their top graders are very, very good. So there's not some huge distinction between quality of grading. I think people are figuring that out. All right, guys, rant over. Let me know your thoughts as you move into 2023. Does this have an impact on what you're going to do? PSA increasing prices here from 15 to 19. Do you think they'll reverse course, or do you think they'll have a lower tier? I've also heard, for the PSA set registry people, they'll probably have a $10 or $12 slot, but I've been hearing that for a long time and I still haven't seen it. I keep on hearing that they're going to reward their longtime collectors and registry people, but I just don't see it anywhere. So I assume that yes, at some point, maybe in 5 years, there will be some sort of registry price point, but we haven't seen it yet. So let me know your thoughts. What's your plan in 2023? Are you still rolling with this? And actually, look, there might be some people that think like, hey, this is great. The declared value's moved up. Everything is good. Let me know that too. Throw your feedback into the comments below. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.